Welcome back. You're watching our special telecast of the CNBC TV 18 Investor Camp from Ahmedabad. Lots of people, and you've been hearing perspective from Nilesh Shah before the break. Now it's time to talk technicals. What should traders do in a market scenario like this? Should they be buying? Should they be trading at all? What kind of stop losses should they be keeping? Atul Surya of Rare Enterprises with his perspective next. Atul, thanks very much for coming to Ahmedabad. How bad is it looking?
I've been in the markets 15, 16 years. Most gentlemen here would have been there for longer periods. But this is a repetitive pattern. It's not the first time. And the pain is that each time the story is the same. Each time I encounter the same people. So what happens is essentially the biggest problem I find, and more so with people or areas where trading is a mindset, is that people trade, but the market makes you investors. कि भाई शेयर आ गया 10% के लिए खेला, लेकिन एक बार भाव नीचे आया तो लॉन्ग टर्म इन्वेस्टमेंट पोर्टफोलियो, भाव आएगा, कंपनी अच्छा है, फिर फंडामेंटल देखने का, मैनेजमेंट क्वालिटी, ये वो, एंड दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंस कि व्हाट स्टार्टेड ऑफ एज अ ट्रेड becomes an investment, and your sheet gets longer and longer and longer. And the beauty is, Udyan, that in the next bull run, the stocks that move are the bloody stocks that are not there in your portfolio. So more than the index, the pain is at the portfolio level, the pain is at the investor level.
How bad can it get from here, though, before we talk about trading strategies?
See, I think the Nifty being where it is right now, it's let's say around 48, 4900. I think that there's a very good support for Nifty around 4650. If you are a trader, that is also an opportunity that you can play these bounces, but play them with very good risk control, because markets are moving fast. Global scenarios are not good. So be careful of what you have and use the rallies little more intelligently to do what your personal strategy is, but do whatever your thing is. But from all this, just take away one thing, is that you must always limit your losses.
You spoke about the election day and the big rally that started after that. On that day of the result, the Nifty was 3700 and it had a 650 point gap. It went to 4350.
Correct.
Some of your peers are saying we'll go back and fill that gap technically. Is that a likelihood?
Yes, there's a theory called the gap theory, and the gap theory says that whenever markets make a gap, what is a gap? Gap means that if the market has closed at a level, the next let's say around 48, 4900, I think that there's a very good support for Nifty around 4650. If you are a trader, that is also an opportunity that you can play these bounces, but play them with very good risk control, because markets are moving fast. Global scenarios are not good. So be careful of what you have and use the rallies little more intelligently to do what your personal strategy is, but do whatever your thing is. But from all this, just take away one thing, is that you must always limit your losses.
You spoke about the election day and the big rally that started after that. On that day of the result, the Nifty was 3700 and it had a 650 point gap. It went to 4350.
Correct.
Some of your peers are saying we'll go back and fill that gap technically. Is that a likelihood?
Yes, there's a theory called the gap theory, and the gap theory says that whenever markets make a gap, what is a gap? Gap means that if the market has closed at a level, the next day it opens substantially higher and then moves on. It is like a gap. So I personally feel that this is a breakout gap. So we may not go to those levels, but again, things are very, very volatile. Things are very, very fast. And each one has to hold out for himself. This is not just about markets. It's just not about a trade. It's about tectonic shifts that are happening in asset classes. It's about what's happening in gold. It's about what's happening in currency.
Let me ask you about, without getting stock specific, for a question which a lot of investors would want answers to. Blue chips like Reliance, State Bank of India, for 1 year, 1.5 years has made no money for them. They must all be wondering what to do with these kind of stocks. Forget the trading stocks. Do you see the possibility of more wealth destruction in some of these core holdings which touch lakhs of investors?
Yeah, why not? Why not? What is the guarantee that Reliance has to make money for you year on year on year? There is no guarantee. There's no written law. And that has happened. If you look at Western markets, you'll find a lot of blue chips, which were blue chips or things like that, have gone on to be, in fact, being eliminated from indexes and gone into the ground. I'm not saying this will happen in the Reliance, please, but the fact is that there is no law that blue chips would not be laggards, would not be underperformers, would not lose you money. There is no such rule.
how would you advise people to approach trading now? Because this market's different from 2008. It's not breaking down. It falls, then it gives those counter trend rallies, then it falls to a new low. As a trader, how should you be approaching this pullback rallies that you're getting periodically?
Honestly, as a trader, it's a beautiful market. It's a fantastic market, I tell you, as a trader. If you're a pure trader, there's nothing better than a bear market. I love bear markets for two things. One is an ego issue, sadistic pleasure. You see, when someone like me, like as I've come across through the interview, I've been saying that stop loss is a religion for me. It's a rule. However good a company is, if my price violates, I sell. If you do not that, you are like actually driving a car with brakes. So the ability to participate in bear markets is just not there. 9 out of 10 people cannot trade bear markets. क्यों? Because घर पे इतना लेन ही है. पहले लेन को ही नहीं अपन संभाल सकते तो short क्या करेंगे?
How many of you actually short stocks, or just more hands than you would see in other parts of the country? Yeah. I think most people do not short.
9 out of 10 people cannot. Emotionally there's an issue. And the emotional problem is, लेन ही नहीं चलती तो short क्या करेंगे?
Let's hear some questions. Yes.
Do this blue chip stocks or like A group companies help you in trading, or it's just about mid cap or some of the offbeat stocks or operative companies which are going to help you?
Your basic question is, should I trade mid caps or should I trade large caps?
Correct.
Even my experience in recent times has been that mid caps, when they trend big time. Like when IVRCL falls, it falls. Or the way a GMR falls, it falls. You cannot get 10-20% in a Reliance. Trading in mid caps is far faster and rewarding because of the lack of index participation or the unidirection. But this has its problems, which you have to be aware of. The problem is that these stocks very often are not very, very liquid.
If I want to take 10 to 15 days call, so what is the best periodicity? 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes chart I have to look?
Obviously, you have a charting package and you look at charts. My experience tells me with Indian markets is that a 30-minute tick chart on an intraday basis, if you're trading for a week or so, is a very good sort of time horizon to sort of see charts. It's a practical experience. People use 5 minutes, 15 minutes. I don't even see. I look at weekly charts, to be honest, because I trade for a longer time trend.
That's some technical perspective. We'll take a quick break. When we return, SP Tulsian with his list of multi-baggers and how to approach mid-cap investing in these turbulent times.